I think for me, when it comes to my trading business, some of the automation process or even outsourcing is very tricky because there's such a depth of knowledge and understanding in that skill set that you can't just get someone random to kind of do and say things in the way that you would. So I find that quite tricky. So I'm trying to simplify my property world, my property investments and my portfolio. So I'm kind of gradually shifting out of one area and moving into a different area. And I want, so I've done flips, I've done social housing, I've done buy-to-lets, I've done conversions, I've done multi-lets, I've done HMOs. So I've done quite a bit, but I like stable, steady income, which is why I prefer social housing out of all of that, social housing and buy-to-lets, because I'm happy with a lower return, but with consistent income from property. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for now, is more of that, because I've got my businesses, I've got my trading, and that's the stuff I like to generate money and cash flow, which I then actually just sink into property. And then property is more a store of wealth for the long term rather than it is about making a cash flow income.
So, for the people just interested in property, you mentioned like you've done all of these different things. What's like some of the benefits and disadvantages of some of those like models within the property space? You mentioned like HMOs. Yeah. Like, why do you not necessarily think that's like a good option at the moment?
Maybe I've just had bad luck, but most people I speak to in property find HMOs an absolute faff. So if you're happy to handle that faff for the higher return, then great, but it's not necessarily a high return. I tend to find that I could buy 2 buy-to-lets, which would cash flow me around about the same as a small HMO, yet I'll spend not much more having 2 buy-to-lets, and I've split my risk. There's so much more that goes into HMOs that you've got to think about and question, and I'm just not interested. I'm busy. I enjoy what I do. Property isn't a passion. It's just it's a wealth vehicle.
Nice. And I think that's important as well, like, because, we've got quite a few people within the property space as well, but it's like, yes, it's a good tool, but using it like Lewis is using it, where it's, okay, it's not his passion, it's not what he's spending 8-10 hours a day focusing on, where he can sort of see what works best within those sort of different models, but he's just stuck to one thing and just putting money into it. So that's really cool. Lewis, how do you go about creating content, and have you got any tips for anyone that's sort of just getting started, no matter what business model they're sort of in?
Yeah, so in terms of content creation, just splurge your brain on a piece of paper. I mean, I get ideas randomly. Often when I'm put my head on the pillow to fall asleep, that's when a lot of ideas will start to turn up. So I do have a notepad by the bed, or I just use my phone to take the note, but I don't like the phone because it puts the light back in my face. I think a really good way to do it is to keep coming back to it. So if you're trying to create content in terms of online content or posts, it's kind of a different process for me. But I often use a process that I developed at university when I was writing essays, because I'm all about saving as much time as possible. So I would be able to never turn up to a lecture and write an essay which would get me a 2-1 result, which is more than good enough, and I could get it all done within 2 days. And the way I would do it is I'd find all bits and pieces of knowledge and information that I needed to write that essay, so to answer whatever question I had to answer. And then I would cut out quotes, or I'd cut out bits of information. Then I'd put them all on a big table, and I'd arrange them in a flow which made sense. And then I would just write around those. So when I created Star Trading, which is my trader training course, that's exactly what I did, that same process. I thought about all the stuff I knew and I wanted to teach people. Then I maybe broke it down into some other bullet points, and then I arranged all those bullet points on a massive table. It got answered in the next video of, it's so step by step, it's so methodical, because I went through a very intentional methodical process to create that flow. And I think you can create content all day long and just pull different ideas out. You can sometimes just Google content ideas and stuff like that, and that can help. But if you're trying to think about, okay, what's the logical progression of my content, which is actually taking people through a story and a process, especially if you're in the teaching game of some capacity, then you don't want to just give random bits of information at random points. I've been very, very strategic in how I've deployed and delivered that content as well.
Nice, man. Nice. And that's one thing that I've been working very hard on recently is come to a big realization that storytelling is what makes content so powerful. So even like the way that I used to make videos, same what you said, like say for example, I don't really vlog anymore, but if I was vlogging, I used to just edit the videos. I would just throw it onto the timeline of like from when they happened, so like start to finish, and then just edit it all together. Whereas now I'm thinking, okay, even though I recorded from Monday to Tuesday in chronological order, if you like, how about I try and script out a video and actually tell the story and then see where those pieces of content fit into that space. So yeah, definitely so important to actually map out rather than just thinking, okay, this is a piece of knowledge my audience would appreciate, and just sort of like splurging it out there. What's one thing when it comes to creating systems and automation that you've sort of realized over the last couple of years, and something that you're potentially using when it comes to software that someone might not know about?
I'm not the best at this, to be honest. This is something I'm looking to do more of in 2021. I think for me, when it comes to my trading business, some of the automation process or even outsourcing is very tricky, because there's such a depth of knowledge and understanding in that skill set that you can't just get someone random to kind of do and say things in the way that you would. So I find that quite tricky. In terms of property stuff, I use Mondays or some online software. I use that, which is relatively helpful just for tracking data and stuff like that. But I'm a big Excel spreadsheet person, and everyone knows about Excel. But my life is on Excel spreadsheets, which isn't necessarily the best, but it's what I know. So it's best for me.
Just to touch in there, you should check out a program called Notion.
Okay.
Very, very, very good. Very good. I've been sort of like going back and forth with, because everything I have is on Excel and Trello, and I've just seen this Notion pop up everywhere, and it's taken me about a month, probably over a month, to like slowly move stuff over to there. But now I'm in there, I'm converted.
I'll check it out. Yeah, and I discovered a new business software which I'm starting to play with, called Live Plan, which is looking like it's going to be really good as well, and it's proper cheap considering how much it can do. Just to give you, like, if you're planning out a business and you want to forecast and that sort of stuff, it looks like it's really, really good for that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Hollywood 6.